Hey guys! So, for quite some time, both Ukrainian and Western media have been raising the question of providing the Ukrainian armed forces with Western armed combat aircraft, primarily the American multi-role fighter F-16 Fighting Falcon, which is in service with NATO countries. While politicians debate this complex issue and military experts discuss the strengths and weaknesses of this, without exaggeration, legendary aircraft, Ukrainian pilots are mastering the Fighting Falcon, and now we'll tell you about the history of its creation, modifications, and characteristics. The history of the F-16 began on April 9, 1965. On that day during the Vietnam War, an air battle took place between F-4B Phantom fighters, which approached Hainan Island, and Chinese MiG-17s. Both sides attacked each other during the battle, but after the clash, all 4 Chinese aircraft returned to their base, while the Americans lost 1 Phantom. This incident led the U.S. Air Force to consider developing a lightweight, maneuverable, and relatively inexpensive fighter of a new generation. The development of such an aircraft for the U.S. Air Force began in early 1972 under the Lightweight Fighter Program. A competition was announced, and the YF-16 project by General Dynamics was the winner. The U.S. Department of Defense signed a contract with the company for over $39 million. Among the finalists of the competition was also Northrop with the YF-17 project. Its developments were also used in the LWF program. The first prototype of the LWF, designated YF-16, first took to the air in January 1974 at Edwards Air Base in California, but the takeoff was unintentional. During a planned run on the runway, the prototype began to sway from side to side, hitting the runway with its stabilizer. So the test pilot, Phil Ostricher, took off to avoid crashing. He safely landed back on the airfield 6 minutes later. On February 2nd of the same year, the future F-16 had its official maiden flight. On January 13th, 1975, the YF-16 prototype lost the Y index, which is given to experimental equipment in the US, and was put into production. At the same time, the fighter was given its own name, Fighting Falcon. Modern versions of the F-16 are full-fledged multi-role fighters with high-quality aerodynamics and avionics that provide for excellent flight characteristics. The fighter is equipped with an integral mid-mounted wing incorporating wing fuselage blending, a rather classic solution for the 4th generation. This design allows for increased internal volume for more equipment and fuel, and also increases lift during maneuvering. The vortices created by the leading edges enhance lift in normal flight. These solutions were developed in the early 60s, but the conservative aviators rarely used them on earlier fighters. Since maneuverability was a crucial goal of the LWF program, the F-16's wing received advanced mechanization, automatic leading-edge slats, and standard flaperons that can also function as flaps. It is more complex than the F-15 in this regard. The F-16 has a single vertical stabilizer, which simplifies the design. The tail fin is located above the engine, and an additional fairing is used at its base, housing equipment. The aerodynamic brake of the aircraft is somewhat unusual. Basically, it consists of 2 brakes located in the tail on either side of the engine, divided into 2 planes, which deflect upwards and downwards. The all-moving horizontal stabilizer is set back, and a pair of small, fixed fins are located under the fuselage. Additionally, there is a tailhook under the engine, which is used in case of emergency landings, similar to the F-15. The F-16 has a tricycle landing gear configuration. Despite its narrow track, it is powerful enough to reduce the requirements for runway quality. Since the air intake is located under the fuselage, the position of the front landing gear had to be modified. If it had remained in the front, under the nose, it would have disrupted the airflow to the engines and increased the risk of foreign objects being ingested. Therefore, the landing gear had to be moved backward and placed under the air intake. The main combat and operational advantage of the F-16 is its power plant. Initially, the fighter was equipped with a single turbojet engine, the F-100 PW-200, which is essentially a modification of the PW F-100 used in the F-15, with a thrust reaching up to 10.8 tons of force. As a result, the F-16's weight is 60% of that of the F-15, which, along with its maximum speed of 2,178 kilometers an hour at an altitude of 12,200 meters, provides it with a high thrust-to-weight ratio. The aircraft's maximum payload capacity is over 8.5 tons. This single-engine design proved to be very successful and became a key factor in the success of the F-16, as having only one engine simplifies maintenance. Today, the flight hour cost of an F-16 with the new engine is around $8,000, which is relatively inexpensive compared to the F-15's flight hour cost of $21,000 and the F-35's cost of $28,000. However, the engine posed significant problems initially. This led to numerous restrictions imposed on the operation of early serial aircraft, and in the mid-1980s, the Air Force initiated a program to create an alternative engine, which was the General Electric F-110. Over time, the engines were modernized, becoming more reliable and powerful, reaching a thrust of up to 14.7 tons. The mass production of the F-16 made it advantageous for suppliers and convenient for customers, as they had the option to choose the power plant. Aircraft with different engines naturally have some minor differences. These variations include the design of the nozzle feathers and the size of the air intake. It turns out that the F-110 engine has a higher air consumption, which is why the air intake of the aircraft equipped with these engines is slightly wider. Naturally, the plane is capable of air refueling, as its range capabilities are rather moderate. The combat radius of the F-16C is approximately 550 kilometers with armament, and the ferry range is 4,200 kilometers with external fuel tanks. Since it was designed for the Air Force, the aircraft system is adapted for boom-style aerial refueling. Despite being originally designed for maneuverable air combat, the F-16 performs well in various roles, including tactical bomber, interceptor, and specialized electronic warfare aircraft. The armament of early F-16s is quite conventional for the Air Force and does not involve exotic weapons such as Phoenixes. The AAB version is equipped with the short-range M9 Sidewinder and the medium-range M7 Sparrow missiles. Later variants of the aircraft are also capable of ground attack, using standard aerial bombs such as the Mark 82. Over time, the range of weapons expanded, from light rockets to aviation nuclear munitions. A true gladiator set. Additionally, the F-16 is equipped with the 20mm M61 Vulcan, a classic in aerial combat. Now, who controls all this? Since the F-16 was designed for highly maneuverable air combat, General Dynamics engineers provided the lone pilot with an exceptional field of view. The single-piece bubble canopy with minimal seams provides virtually all-around visibility. Originally, the F-16 was equipped with the Westinghouse APG-66 fire control radar. Its shape had to be slightly modified to fit inside the fighter's nose, but the functionality remained quite impressive. With the development of the aircraft, the radars also underwent changes, growing in capabilities. The newer F-16s are outfitted with Northrop Grumman's APG-80 Active Electronically Scanned Array (AESA) radar. Nevertheless, the fighter was designed to be relatively inexpensive in production and operation, and it continues to adhere to this ideology. About 80% of its structure is made of aluminum, with a small portion of complex materials. In this regard, the aircraft is quite conservative, and a significant portion of its onboard systems and internal components are designed for easy maintenance. One of the prides of General Dynamics engineers is the structural durability with a service life of over 8,000 flight hours. Initially, the military's requirements were modest. In general, cost-effectiveness in operation and a long service life are among the main reasons for the worldwide popularity of the F-16. At first glance, these parameters may not seem important in immediate air combat, but when considering long-term use and maintaining a large fleet, Everyone would like to have combat-ready air forces capable of defending the country's airspace without bankrupting the nation. Of course, such a mass-produced fighter couldn't do without some exotic variants. Its YF-16 CCV and F-16 AFTI prototypes were developed to test the so-called independent maneuvering, where the aircraft can move in various planes without performing standard maneuvers. For this purpose, they were equipped with additional under-fuselage all-moving fins and improved avionics. The solutions were interesting, but they didn't make it into serial production. Another variant created in the 1980s was the F-16 XL, featuring a cranked-down delta wing and a longer fuselage. The aircraft participated in the tender for a multi-role strike fighter, but eventually lost to the F-15E Strike Eagle. Subsequently, it was used in NASA's research park. Throughout its operational period, the F-16 has effectively seen several generations. Initially, there were a pair of single-seat F-16A and a two-seat F-16B with tandem seating. Then, they were replaced by the upgraded F-16C and D, which addressed initial issues, featured updated onboard systems, and expanded weapon options. The latest upgraded radars and engines were introduced on the F-16E and F variants, which also received optional conformal fuel tanks, causing some debates about aesthetics, but addressing flight range issues. The most advanced version is the F-16V, where V stands for Viper. Over the course of several decades, aviators have come to accept the name of the aircraft as it is virtually a fully equipped 4++ generation fighter. Moreover, all modifications were designed to allow older aircraft to be upgraded to the V version. Thanks to these successful solutions, the F-16 has become the most widespread fourth-generation fighter in the world. In the USA, the fighter primarily serves with the Air Force and the National Guard, and is also used by the Thunderbirds aerobatic team. Besides the United States, the F-16 is in service with more than 25 countries worldwide. Apart from the Thunderbirds, another aerobatic team, the Black Knights of the Singaporean Air Force, uses the F-16s. A total of approximately 4,600 aircraft have been manufactured. In addition to Europe, F-16s are produced under license in Turkey by the Turkish Aerospace Industries Corporation. The KF-16 variants are manufactured in South Korea. And of course, Mitsubishi produces the F-2 fighters in Japan, although they strongly object when the F-2 is referred to as the local version of the F-16. Currently, Lockheed Martin's main goal is to enter the Indian market. Their F-16IN participated in the Indian megatender MMRCA in the past, but was unsuccessful. However, now they are offering licensed local production of the F-21 fighter, which is essentially a modification of the F-16V Block 70. In the United States, the serial production of F-16s is being reduced due to the saturation of the fleet and the fact that Lockheed Martin is focusing on its main replacement, the F-35 Lightning II. To accommodate the newcomer, the Falcon production line is being relocated from Texas to South Carolina. Fighter jets have participated in the majority of U.S. military operations over the past decades and are expected to be actively used for quite some time, until they are gradually replaced by the F-35. In the rest of the world, the F-16 also serves as one of the main cogs in the perpetual war machine. Israel was among the first to employ F-16s in the early 1980s, and as we know, they use these aircraft to this day. The same goes for Turkey, Pakistan, and other countries according to their foreign policy activities. The cost of the fighter is difficult to specify, especially considering the numerous versions of the F-16. However, as of today, it can range from $35 to $55 million. Another significant advantage of the F-16 is the Link 16 data exchange system, which allows the aircraft to transmit and receive target data not only between aircraft, but also from ground-based radars, such as the radar of the Patriot air defense system. This provides the fighter with additional capabilities for target interception. Such is the long and winding history of this fighter. American designers managed to create a lightweight and maneuverable aircraft capable of carrying various armaments for the destruction of both air and ground targets. The F-16 has proven itself in numerous combat operations over the past 40 years. and its modifications remain relevant to this day. Well, that's all, friends. Like the video if you found it interesting. Let me know what you learned in the comments, and we'll see you next time.